Yo, yo. Yo. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap Facebook Cafe, LinkedIn, Twitter. I think they call it X, Twitter. And we're live on, is that Instagram? YouTube. We're live everywhere, man. What's up? Y'all make sure, y'all are piped in. We're about to start talking real soon. As you can see, the title, the influence of the algorithm, and the death of Black organizing. I think this is extremely important that we talk about this right now. So, yeah, as soon as we get people in here, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the conversation. We're gonna get started with the conversation because we got to make sure that Black folk know what Black folk need to know in this moment. And Black folk need to make sure that they are piped in to everything that's happening as it pertains to our world. Because right now the world is on fire around us. The world is on fire around us, and we need to make sure that we are not on fire because the world is on fire. Hey, what's going on? It's good to see you as well. That's my YouTube family. I see y'all out there. Thank y'all so much for typing in. Please like, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe to this channel, whichever channel you're watching, please subscribe to it. Also, please make sure that you share this right now, because I mean, this is the second part of a conversation that I was having with myself, and I got a witness. And she might not be a happy witness, but my wife can tell you for the past 2 days, I've been up to like 4 or 5, 6 o'clock in the morning working on something. Just the video that I shared, the 23-minute video where one of them I'm talking to the camera. And I know some people don't want to look at my face for 23 minutes. So I went ahead and also created some kind of like AI generated graphics that you can look at while I'm telling you what I need you to hear. But I need everybody that cares about Black people, that is a Black person, anybody that's considered or considering thinking about opening their mouth about what it means in this moment to be Black and how we show up against white supremacy. Please take time and watch that video. Let me do a couple of housekeeping things before I get started, because I know some people are going to say something, so let me go to correct it. You will see me drinking in this video. It is not alcohol. I've not had it. I don't drink, but it's alcohol. No, it's wine, but it's not alcohol. As you can see, it says alcohol has been removed. So when you see me drinking my champagne, don't think I'm getting bubbly over here, because I'm not getting bubbly. I am bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and clear-minded when I'm talking to you, because in this moment, I need you to understand that I am coming from a sober point of view as it pertains to what's going on in these United States, as it pertains to the Black electoral power and where we find ourselves in 2026, and why 2026 smells, tastes, and look a lot like the 50s when we had, yes, alcohol, Riesling, yes. And that definitely wasn't a commercial for that company. It's just that let you know that it is out there for people who like Riesling but don't like the bubblies. That's it. So anyway, what I'm talking about is, as the title suggests, the influencer, the algorithm, and the death of the organizing. Now, I don't want people to believe that the influencer is not a bad thing. Listen, I'm not saying that people that make their money influencing people should be shamed to hell. That's not what this is about. This is not about ragging on anybody's profession. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. Please hear that, because I know The goofiness that is on the internet, that exists on the internet, is about to come. Oh, he's hating on influencers. He's jealous. I'm not hating on anybody at all. Get your paper how you get your paper, as long as you're not being exploitive. What I am saying, what I am talking about though, is something that is extremely important. And it's this tension that exists in modern movement work. And if you're not in movement work, it seems as in this moment that we've gotten away from when people say, I don't know. Saying I don't know in this moment seems to be like an admission of weakness to people. And I don't know if this is a creation of social media where everybody's an expert, but it seems as if saying I don't know something, or I'm speaking about something that is my opinion and I can't argue with facts, those moments seem to have gone by the wayside. We don't do that anymore. People don't think that people know more than them anymore. It seems like everybody is an expert on everything. So this is what this conversation is about. It's about this tension where we've allowed visibility, famous people, visibility, to compete with credibility. Listen to what I'm saying. Visibility and credibility do not go hand in hand. Just because somebody went viral or have built a viral network or a network of followers does not mean that they are experts when it comes. Keep in mind the conversation we're talking about. We're talking about organizing Black community for political power. Let me say that again. Just because someone is a influencer or they have visibility at a higher level does not mean that person has ever organized Black communities, even knowing what organizing is, the first principle of organizing, or how to build community work to get us closer to free. Visibility does not equate to credibility. That's what I'm saying. We have to understand that, right? And I think we've allowed the act of having a large following to be the same thing or even more important than expertise. We've allowed the act of having a million followers in an era where we know people are buying followers, people have bots as followers, people create bots, people lie on social media. And I'm not saying every influencer is a liar or they're buying facts or followers. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is it is dangerous for us to believe or imply that because someone has, listen to me, a large following, that they have credibility and work expertise. Think about that. That's like going to a job interview, and I need y'all to hear me because this is exactly what it is. It's the equivalent of going to a job interview, and someone in that interview that's interviewing you asks, have you ever built a robot? And you say, I have 50,000 people following me, which makes him an expert on robots. Now, these people following you could be because you did something funny, you cracked a joke, or you know how to dance, or you know how to rap, you know how to sing, or you just know how to talk a good game online, but you have no track record. We've lessened the benchmark for Black organizers from the point of having to have a track record of work, not even success, a track record of work in our community, for our community, about our community, around issues plaguing our community, to simply being popular. We seen what this mean. Kanye West. Everybody's loving and raising Kanye West up, calling him a genius. He goes on a Breakfast Club in front of a room full of white people and say Black people that were enslaved chose to stay in slavery. Lil Wayne, people raising him up because he made a song about Katrina. But then what did he do when a Black woman asked him what's his take on Black Lives Matter and America's racism? And he said America can't be racist because he's a young, rich, Black N-word. Ice Cube. And I can just go along, I can keep going. Nicki Minaj. I can keep going down a list of people who have large followings that we've put impact in, influencers, and we've automatically equated them with experts. And I'm telling you all, as a Black man who has been doing this work for a while, that is extremely dangerous. It is also partially how we got here, to this point where people don't trust anything or anybody can say anything reckless. You get online, you're trying to have a healthy debate about Black people that you think care about Black people and this work surrounding Black people. And the first thing they say is something crazy, like you're an Uncle Tom. Now, mind you, this person is calling me an Uncle Tom because I disagree with their point of view, and they've never worked on a campaign. They've never organized a protest. They've never been arrested for Black people. They've never done anything except for tweet something. Imagine that. You can get online and never have protested, never have been a part of any movement, never built anything for the betterment of Black people. And you could call someone an Uncle Tom because they disagree with a strategy. Think about that. So, I think we've forgotten that there is a world outside of social media, and we need to get back to putting on our discernment and having some discernment where we can say, hold on a second, what's your track record? We need to be asking for resumes as it pertains to what it means to follow people when it comes to our people. When it comes to our people, because when we allow celebrity to be more important than the work, we get derailed. Our movements get put aside as soon as those people, the celebrity that we lift up, do something crazy or do something against what we're trying to do. It takes the wind out of the sails for us getting closer to equity. What makes this even more dastardly as a task is the fact that, think about this, algorithms reward chaos, outrage, not the work of organizers. The work of organizers is planning field programs, creating field programs to reach voters, to reach communities, and find out what issues are most important. The video I created about this very issue I'm talking about was only 23 minutes, and people aren't watching that. So if people aren't watching a 23-minute video, you know they're not watching a training video on how to knock on doors and talk to your neighbors about an election. You know they're not watching a training video on how to have a one-on-one, or they don't even know what a one-on-one is as it pertains to organizing. You know that. So if we know that, then we should take pause and think about who we're listening to and who we're following, especially as it pertains to how we're going to get ourselves closer to free. Because if we don't, we may go a long way. As J. Cole said, you went a long way, but the only problem is you went the wrong way. You went the wrong way. Think about that. People doing this work very rarely go viral because they're busy doing this work. And it's not sexy work. It is not glamorous. It is unglamorous work to knock on doors and be sweaty through June in Georgia and North Carolina and Louisiana. It is not sexy to be out in the community acting as a mutual aid organization. That is not sexy work. The algorithm will never put that to the front. It will always prioritize two Black people fighting or Black people saying crazy stuff. That will always be the move that generates more views, more followers, more visibility. But what we have to do is take all of that, enjoy it if you think it's funny, if you like watching people fight, if you like the ratchet, whatever, enjoy that. I have no critique of that. My critique is when you equate that with the work that's going to get us free. That's the scary part. When you think Don Lemon is an organizer, when Don Lemon has spent his entire career on CNN and news channels. That's journalism. He is not an organizer. He's never worked on a campaign. But because he has an outsized following, you people automatically assume he knows more than people who've worked on campaigns forever. Don Lemon knows nothing about organizing at all. That's not a knock on him. It's just not where his work is. We have to stop being bothered by facts. The truth should never be, a great man named Melvin Brown say this all the time. The truth should never be considered disrespectful. The truth should never be considered disrespectful. The truth should never be considered disrespectful. People that are doing this work are not viral sensations, but they are committed to this work. They're doing trainings. They're acting as a mutual aid. They're doing work. They're going around figuring out what their neighbors need. They're trying to address those harms. They're leading protests. They're organizing protests. They're calling candidates. They're calling politicians. They're organizing protests and boycotts in their communities. And we don't know their name. And what we'll do is we'll get on this site, and because someone famous, or someone with a lot of followers will say, there's nothing going on pertaining to Black people, or there's no organizing going on. And then automatically we will reshare that, not recognizing the disrespect for the person who's in the mud, who's not being supported by this famous person, or this influence ain't sending none of their dough to support this person's work. Or even asking that person, hey, can you come on my platform and teach my followers what organizing really looks like? We've gotten away from the essence of what it means to be people on fire, what it means to be salt. Think about the era in the 60s. We are back there now, and we are missing what we had then. And I'm not nostalgic. I'm not naive in what history was. I know, this is what I need our people to know. I know popularity was never the thing. When Dr. King, the year Dr. King died, his popularity was in the 20s. So all these people who tell you they were supporting King that were living while he was living, don't buy the hype. That brother was having problems speaking at the Black Baptist the year he died because he was too radical about poor people's issues around the world, meaning Vietnam, and also money's issues. So I know I'm not naive when it comes to what I'm talking about as it pertains to who and how we show up. I am asking our people to have a little higher level of discernment, right? Because we need to make sure that we're controlling what we're doing and not algorithms. We're controlling what we're doing, not algorithms, because these algorithms are dirty. We don't know what make them tick. We don't know how they work. And they are owned by big businesses who make a lot of money. And we've already seen these businesses, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, all of them knew the harm of their algorithms and how they would target young people, specifically young girls. Yet and still, they still built these motherfuckers. They still built them out. And they knew they would do harm. The reports showed that even before they were live, and yet and still, we still are suffering through them. So when I tell you, be weary of these algorithms putting these influences in your face about topics important to your community, and these people don't have a track record in these communities. I have no problem with Isaiah Martin. Isaiah Martin is an amazingly smart Black man. He knows nothing about organizing Black communities. That brother knows a lot about America's history, policy, and politics. But politics is not electoral work. It is not the organizing work. And I think that's the difference. I'm not in competition with people who are journalists. I am not a journalist. I will never be a journalist. It is not my passion. It is not my calling in life. Doing the work of organizing people around my communities and issues plaguing my communities is what I know. It's what I've been doing for a long effing time. And that is what I'm telling people. We need to get back to understanding how to separate people. Right? Right? Because one viral video can make you an influencer, can give you a large following. But it should not, for in our minds, one viral video can give you a large following. It can make you viral. It should not replace a track record of doing shit and being in service to Black people. We should not allow that, because being an organizer requires relationships. building trust, not just showing up, right? The conflict comes from the algorithm. The tension comes from the influencer taking these speaking engagements, saying and acting as if what they are saying is grounded in facts that they've tested, that they know to be true. And that to me is dangerous and scary. It's dangerous and scary because awareness, popularity without accountability is manipulation, especially when the algorithm controls it. Awareness without accountability, popularity without accountability is manipulation. It's manipulation. And we need to call that out. We need to call that out. We need to call that out because it's dangerous and it slows us down from where we need to be. So when I'm talking about the influence of the algorithm and the depth of Black organizing, I only say that because we have shown up in this moment where we need to be locked in about what's important and not sidetracked based on some BS that some influencer or somebody with a lot of visibility told us we need to be doing. We need to be doing stuff that we know is tried and true, that's going to affect our community in a positive way. We're not doing that. We have a long history of boycotting. We have a long history of not sacrificing the least amongst us when we do boycott. We have always, every successful boycott in our community has a history, has a history of being a shared stress, meaning it wasn't just put on the poorest people in our community. There were systems that protected people that participated in boycotts. It was coalition buy-in. It was community engagement. But what we have now is a group of people, a rich person, D.L. Hughley, say something, the NAACP take what he says and create an entire program without talking to Black people who would be affected the most. And here's the sad part, and I am not exaggerating, on a call today with someone with first-hand knowledge of SEC players and a representative from one of the collegiate organizations, I'm not going to call this person out, said these young men aren't even fazed by this protest because they're all saying, who the F is the NAACP? And that is a sad moment. Not because we need to be saying who the F is the NAACP, but we need to make sure that the NAACP understands that they do not have the right to speak on our behalf without asking. The NAACP cannot pretend that it speaks for young Black men when young Black men are the least demographic to be a part of the NAACP. There are fewer young Black men, these people that they're trying to speak on their behalf in the NAACP than any other Black people at all. So you can't pretend that you are a representative of people who don't see themselves in your organization. That is not progressive. That is actually, that is paternalistic. That is disgusting behavior from our beloved NAACP. The algorithm and this behavior does not reward anything other than conflict. We need movement work that rewards and understand and prioritize nuance, coalitions, the voice of the least, and also strategies that is long-term. None of that exists in what we're doing right now. Everything we're doing is reactionary. No one sat down and created a long-term plan on how we were going to address this. We didn't think about the strategy to go after real economy. So when people talk about how much economy college football brings in or how white people in the South love college football, and I'm not saying they don't, but I bet you if white people in the South were dealing with the effects of all of the 20 corporations in the South, the 20 corporations that are worth more than $3 trillion, just three that employ over 3 million people. If the Black people in those organizations just shut shit down, You want to see effect change happen right then? And the way that you know that something's going on, something's fishy with the strategy, is when you get famous people. And listen now, Roland Martin is my friend. We text, but I disagree with what Roland Martin did the other night. Roland Martin and another influencer who I don't have a relationship with, so I won't call that person's name because I don't know that person's motive. I know Roland loves black people. I know Roland cares about black people and how we end up. I'm saying his tactics the other night were tacky. They were wrong and they were manipulative. And this is what I'm saying happens when we mix up influencers as organizers. Let me give you detail. Roland did a show. He had a whole panel, 3 or 4 black people up there, and they were all taking aims at people who had a problem with the NAACP boycott right now. And Roland did something that was out of bounds for me. Roland said that the only reason or the reason the Mississippi flag changed, and I need to say this because that's someone that I that's my people. So I need to say this. He said the reason that flag changed was because a football player, talking about Hill, Kylan Hill from Mississippi, Ole Miss at the time, sent a tweet to the governor, and 10 days later the flag came down. If you heard that on Roland's show, and I know people do because I was sitting beside a brother on a plane just a few hours ago, told me he watched Roland every day and he believed what he says because everything Roland says is about our people. And that's a fact. I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying though is we also need to make sure in these moments we're using discernment because that's not what happened. That's not how that flag changed. And telling that story in that manner is a disservice to black organizers who are not famous. It's a disservice to black people who spent their power, their agency, and also their time building out a campaign to target and get rid of that flag. That's what that is. And let me go into detail. Let me set the climate first. Mississippi had it was the last state with the Confederate flag as a part of its flag. The year was 2020. Some of you all may have forgotten because life is life, and I get that. But what happened right before that flag came down? Let me rewind you. So imagine that you seeing the flag come down. Let's imagine that flag go back up. And let's rewind less than 30 days. Let's rewind about 40 days. I'm sorry, about 27 days before. You know what happened? On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was murdered, and we all watched it. George Floyd got killed in 2020. Right after George Floyd got killed, Black Lives Matter, the local chapters and the national chapter and the international chapters were organizing people. Mississippi had a Black Lives Matter chapter that was extremely active. And these kids had never met each other. At the time, they were kids and young adults. They had never met each other. Most of them were HBCU students or HBCU grads, historical black colleges and universities, students and graduates. Organizing. And they planned a march. Guys, when I tell you they planned a march, they didn't just plan a march. In the first weeks of June, so many people showed up. It was these young people planned a protest that was so big that more than 9,000 people showed up in Jackson, Mississippi. It's the largest protest in Mississippi history for black people's rights. And after that, they started organizing. They were calling the state legislature. They had businesses and other entities calling state legislators. That's what was going on. That's what was going on. And at that same time, the football player tweeted. So do you see what I'm saying? When we don't talk about what really happened, all this organizing, these people getting calls from business entities and other entities. When people don't know that it was young black people that put their work in to make this happen, then the story is twisted that a football player can do that. And you're only saying that because you're trying to justify the NAACP's boycott. And that ain't this, and this ain't that. And that's bad. That's bad. That's what happens when we eliminate, when we put personalities over work. Because organizing a 9,000 people protest is not smart. Yes, that was the protest where they said that flag need to come down in Jackson. And that's when they started calling the state legislature. They made thousands of calls to the state legislature. And these people, and their law firms who wrote about this protest, there are organizations, real civil rights organizations. Southern Poverty Law Center has an article on these 4 or 5 young people who did this work, who organized this and told how they brought this flag down. So when you hear Roland and other people using a lie, saying that this one athlete tweeted and 10 days later the flag came down, that ain't good work, dog. That's playing with Black organizing. And that bothers my soul because I'm a Black organizer. And to steal from the legacy of work that goes in to simplify what it takes to win victories like that to just a tweet is disgusting work. And we gotta be able to say that out loud. We gotta be able to say that. And we gotta get past this point where we're allowing people to make us believe that disagreement with bad strategy is betrayal. Because that's what Donald Trump does. When you disagree with Donald Trump, then you've betrayed him. And if our organizations is showing up the same way, then are we any better? Are we any better if our organizations are showing up the same way? Are we doing anything different if what we're doing seems and looks and smell just like what the person we're fighting against is doing? So we are obligated to say that. And I needed to say that because this is what I'm talking about. 1 million followers does not replace real track record of work, successful work within our community and service, being in service to Black communities. We gotta get to the point where we can recognize and respect people's grind to build up their brand, and also recognize that their brand and building a brand don't automatically make you an expert in everything. D.L. Hughley, being one of my favorite comedians does not make D.L. Hughley one of the greatest or at all political organizer at all. It just makes him have a platform for being comedic. He shouldn't pretend that he's strategic when it comes to politics because he does harm. And he also needs to recognize the harm that he can do when his platform is as big as it is. Because then you have organizations like the NAACP running with that strategy. The NAACP, being the organization that it is, having a history that it does, should recognize that they should not be putting out strategies ever that they don't involve the people that will be harmed by these strategies. Also, we need to do a real autopsy on the NAACP and say, how are you speaking for young Black men when they don't see themselves in the organization? And don't point to the very few brothers who are in that organization. And I can say this because, you know, I love the NAACP. I do. I love the history and what it means to my people, but I'm also not blinded by this love that I will not criticize bad strategy, especially when it puts young people in the front with no support. We as Black folk cannot allow the algorithm to drive our 2026 strategy when we didn't let the tricks of COINTELPRO drive our strategy in the 60s. And if you don't know what COINTELPRO is, I would employ you to please Google COINTELPRO. But we cannot, at this moment ever, we cannot allow visibility and celebrity to drive us in this manner when they don't have a track record. Again, I'll say this because I said it at the beginning, and we have other people. One, share this video, subscribe to whatever channel you're looking at, and like it. But also, please know that I am not knocking how people get their bag. If people are influencers, be great at it. Just don't be exploitive. And to me, if you are Don Lemon or a media personality, just be a media personality. Don't step in the lane of organizing, pretending, unless you're trying to learn how to organize. Ain't nothing wrong with learning a new skill. But you can't come over here and think just because you have a big platform for speaking about stuff, that platform equates and make you a voice that people should listen to when it comes to strategy. That's not how it works. I would definitely, if I was at a basketball camp, if I was at a basketball camp trying to learn how to shoot and do moves and be long and have a long career, I would listen to everything LeBron James has to say. Everything. Because he's an expert at that. But LeBron James and all of his followers couldn't make me listen to a damn thing he has to say about organizing because I'm an expert at that. And that shouldn't be seen as disrespect. We just got to get to the point where we can have these conversations and tell people you are welcome in these spaces, but you need to know where you are in these spaces because you can do serious harm when you have platforms with millions or hundreds of thousands of followers and you pretend that you're an expert and you are afraid to say I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Saying I don't know, it's not a sign of weakness. It is actually so rare that I had a brother tell me online the other day, I had already geared up to go back and forth, set some time aside to go back and forth with this brother to tell him why what he was saying was incorrect as it pertains to organizing. But that brother came out in a minute after the first message. I wrote a message, I wrote a post, he wrote something on my post, I responded, and then the brother said, you know what, man, I ain't even gonna lie. I didn't even read the whole thing. I didn't know about this. Now I'm considering and seeing this. It makes sense. That is so rare. That interaction was so rare. When he said it, it took me a minute because I was like, wait, what is going on here? Because we've been conditioned by the algorithm that you must fight even when you're not a warrior in that battlefield. You can't be taught anymore. Everybody has to be an expert. We've been made to believe that we're all experts on everything. That is the problem. That is the problem. We're not experts on everything. We are not experts on everything. And in this case, trying to pretend that we're experts on everything will get Black people killed. That is not hyperbole. That is the death of Black organizing. So you heard about the influencer, you heard about the algorithm, the death of Black organizing. Black organizing is so central to our lived experience, guys. So central to our lived experience that we don't exist in the way we do right now without people organizing towards our freedom, for our freedom. Harriet Tubman was a Black organizer. She was not, she was not a sensation in her time. She was a Black organizer. Fannie Lou Hamer is a Black or was a Black organizer. Joanne Robinson was a Black organizer. And if you don't, everybody should Google Joanne Robinson. We need to know that everything you saw and see had infrastructure. All the successful movements you hear about had successful infrastructure where people thought long before it was public. People thought about what it should look like and how it should happen. And they had conversations and they organized and they built those infrastructures by allowing a broad sense or a broad group of Black people to participate in how and who would be harmed. Telling young people 2 weeks before, and this is the problem right here also. People are out here saying crazy stuff about, oh, they could just go anywhere, talking about these young boys. They can go play football anywhere. They can't go play anywhere. Most of these kids committed in their junior years, and people act like the NIL money is just sitting on the table like it ain't already been spent for this season. People don't build their football teams 2 weeks before the season start. That's called fantasy football. That's what they do in fantasy football leagues. Y'all act like just because it's 13 or 14,000 scholarships in college football scholarships in D1 that there are not 37,000, 40,000 D1 football players vying for those scholarships. You also act like that majority of those scholarships aren't for older students. Shirley Chisholm absolutely was an organizer. Y'all act as if that was from our YouTube family, y'all. I know some of y'all can't see the comments. So I need people to understand that we don't have the luxury of playing with moments like this. This moment is powerful. And we also have to tell the truth. We're asking kids to do more than we're asking people. We're watching in this moment, Black people are voting. The numbers should be near 100% right now, right? In states where Black people are voting, turnout of adults who are asking the NAACP should be pushing its membership to 100% voter turnout and everybody in their network. Where's the strategy around voter turnout for Black people in these southern states? We know we got to fight, and people don't get comfortable with what just happened in Alabama. And for those that don't know, Alabama, a court just told Alabama that their districts were racist and they couldn't use them, the maps that they redrew. But we know anybody who believes that's going to be the end of that story don't understand what's going to happen. Everyone knows that they're going to fight back. They're going to push against that. So we need to be prepared. What's our strategy? Why aren't we where is our Black Project 2027 or 2028 or 2030? Or instead of me saying where's our Black Project 2026 and 2027 and 2028? Why organizations with so much resources are being reactive instead of being strategic? Why are we not sitting still building? Why are we not building a plan that actually should speak to what Black people are suffering through? Excuse me. Who are the thinkers? Who are the thinkers? Who are the thinkers if all we do is react? In football, you can't score that much, or you're highly unlikely to score if you're always on defense. The same is true with basketball. You can't score if you're on defense. The same is true in politics. If your political strategy is 100% defensive and reactionary, then you're not plotting on what the wins will be. Black people are old and we deserve victories. Organizations that are trying to sacrifice our kids owed us victories. What are the victories? What are the victories? What are the victories? I need to understand where we are and who's going to help us build out Project 2026, the Black version, 2027, the Black version, 2028, the Black version. Where's the strategy? When are our people going to decide that we need a strategic plan that address not just the latest horrible stuff coming from Republicans, but we need a strategic plan that protect us from the weakness of the Democrats when they get back in power? How are we going to make sure and ensure that the Democrats won't be weak again when they get back in power? How are we going to be ensured that the Democrats are going to fight to end the Electoral College? How are we going to be sure that the Democrats are going to fight to end the filibuster? How are we going to be sure the Democrats will fight to expand the Supreme Court? How are we going to be sure the Democrats will not buckle when it comes time to talk about our reparations, since we know that there is an appetite for reparations, and especially for those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th? How we know that the Democrats are going to fight and be strong on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act? How are we going to codify so we don't be where we are now? How are we going to know the Democrats will fight to end gerrymandering when they get back in power by creating third-party systems that control it? How are we going to codify a more equitable health care program? How are we going to be ensured that the Democrats are going to do that? Who's writing that strategy? Who's going to ensure us that the next time the Democrats get back in party, they won't just take a damn knee and put on some kente cloth like the last time they did when George Floyd was murdered? Are we going to get the John Lewis Act? Are we? For those who are just joining, I am not drinking alcohol. This is champagne without alcohol. So again, there's not been a more progressive campaign on our side than Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson ran for president in 1984 and 88. If you think I'm lying, go look at his campaign. In 1988 and 84, Jesse Jackson was calling for universal health care. Jesse Jackson was calling for reparations. Jesse Jackson was calling for Palestine to be recognized as a state. Have you seen a presidential campaign on our side that looked like that? I'm drinking alcohol without champagne. I'm sorry. I'm drinking champagne without alcohol, if that's what I said. I'm sorry. It's right there. Alcohol removed. No alcohol. So again, I'll ask you guys, what are we going to demand? What are we going to demand? What are we going to demand of our Democratic Party? What are we going to ask the Democratic Party? What are we going to make sure? Who's writing a strategy that does not require us to sacrifice our kids? Go, people. Please, if you didn't watch that video, I'm asking you. It's on Facebook. It's on social media. Please. Yeah. Just make sure that we know that the algorithm has a place in our entertainment. And also, in some cases, it has a place in making sure that we're hearing information. But I'm asking y'all. Is our political imagination so small that it only lets us say, well, you know what? These kids that are going to college to play football, we can easily send them and make them boycott. Mind you, ain't nobody said, well, we're going to take care of these kids. We're going to make sure that they don't get harmed because we're going to set up a fund. They ain't go to rich Black people and say, you need to give us, Black billionaires, 1% of your income so we can ensure that these kids, NIL, they have a cushion. So even if they don't get drafted or they do get blackballed, think about that. They ain't asked rich people nothing. They ain't asked rich people nothing. Huh? Think about that. They ain't asked rich people for nothing. They ain't asked rich people for nothing, but they want these kids. And then they're going to tell you, they're going to be like, oh, well, they can just go anywhere. You guys are betting on white supremacy not getting its lick back? Do you not know what happened? Roland Martin did a whole special about every time Black people do something or stand up or secede or try to secede or get closer to freedom, there's a white backlash. He talked about it every time. Think about after what happened after we got free, then we elected a bunch of black people right after slavery. Then we had the pushback. Jim Crow came. What happened after Jim Crow? Think about it. Black people got 64. We got the 64, the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act. Black veterans got to use the veteran bills. Redlining got taken off the books. So then what happened? Black people started making gains. So then what happened? Then we got Ronald Reagan. Welfare queens became a thing. Trickle down economics is what we got. And black people starved. We got Ronald Reagan buying drugs and putting them in black neighborhoods. That is not a conspiracy. That shit happened in these United States. In these United States. In these United States. In real life. What happened? Then we got Barack Obama after Bush. What was happening after Barack Obama? We got Donald Trump. There's always a white backlash. White people and whiteness, those people who support white supremacy always get their licks back. So if you believe that they're gonna let these kids boycott the SEC and not have any problems, then you've not been living in America. You've been living in a place where Narnia took place. You've been in Narnia, in the closet. Furthermore, you're telling one division until the SEC. And then if you go, this is how sloppy that protest was. If you go look at the states, they didn't even list all the states that erased black districts. North Carolina erased a black district. They didn't even put North Carolina up there. North Carolina the ACC has football teams in southern states as well. They didn't even put the ACC up there. They didn't tell black coaches. They didn't tell Dawn Staley, not the coach South Carolina. She got way more pull than a black athlete. They ain't tell her. I'm just talking about equity, y'all. And if your position is you care about and you're working for more equitable treatment of black people, this out of bounds ain't it. It's out of bounds in itself. So now, that's that. Let me tell you how I know there's a silver lining in the cloud and how I know our people don't give up. Our people are voting in ways that we've never voted before, percentage-wise. We should continue to make sure, guys, that we are voting in ways that we've never voted before. Meaning we need turnout. We need turnout every election like it's a presidential election. We need to outperform the outperforming. Barack Obama numbers will not be enough. We need to do more. We need to expect more of our people, of the black vote in this moment. For all those people whose argument was the black vote does not matter. They've seen what's been going on in 2026, so they can't make that dumbass argument anymore because they see what Republicans are willing to do to strip the power of the black vote. They took people in Memphis and broke those people up who live in one community and broke those people up into 3 different congressional districts. That was a black seat. Even before it was a black seat, meaning intentionally. Think about that. We know they took Don Davis, North Carolina District 1. It's a black district. That was a black district even before it was a black district. Eva Clayton held that seat. They split it up. Took significant 30% of the black people from that district got moved to District 3. See, but what we need to do is what they don't understand. We need to make sure that 30% that don't normally vote, all the black people that they move to the 3rd, we need to take that number and make sure that they turn out and upset what they got going on in the third too. We need to make sure that North Carolina 1 remains under Black leadership, but we need to make sure that we punish them for playing with us like this. That does not happen by telling kids to sit out of football games. It does happen if we create real get out the vote strategies right now and not wait to September and tell people that this election is the most important election. If we start talking to our neighbors right now with a strategy, with a message that rings true, that is not grounded in manipulation, but is grounded in what's possible, not the end all be all, but what's possible, we have an opportunity to change shit. Even weaponize what they did against them. That's what we could do. That's what we can do. That's what we can do if we get busy with the busy. If we get busy with the busy, y'all, we can actually take what they built, the harm they try to do, and make it for our good. But it requires Black people not chasing algorithms and virality and influence, but it's building and working on the relationships that are in our community and doing tried and true strategy that has forever worked when it comes to engaging and moving people beyond the status quo of thinking that politics is just the shit happening on CNN, MSNBC, and CBC. Why did you throw the CBC in there? That's not a news organization. Because the CBC is starting to show up just like a lot of these other organizations, just to throw a fucking party. The CBC is one of the largest, if not the largest caucus in the Democratic Party. For those that don't know, CBC stands for Congressional Black Caucus. You need to be louder. Ilhan Omar should not be the loudest member in the CBC. Congressional Black Caucus. Congressional Black Caucus. It's a group of all the congressional Black people. And it's the largest caucus right now. Horsford, who's in Nevada too. Hakeem Jeffries, who's the highest ranking Democrat, who's a Black man from Brooklyn, should be loud as hell. He should be cussing people out on the floor every day with strategy that's revolutionary, because that district should be safe. When you're speaking on behalf of Black people, you don't have anything to fear because they're gonna show up and support your ass. That's what we do. But when you act timid, when you try to play and shift and sit lukewarm on fences, Black people turn their back on your ass and don't give a damn if you fall off that fence. So if you care, if you want a strategy that will work, I'm telling you right now, Democrats, CBC, and others, and NAACP, and everybody else who's supporting that boycott, if you want a strategy that's going to work, stop listening to these consultants who are polling Black people that are already the same Black people that are their friends. Get busy talking to real people in hoods and neighborhoods and hollers all over this world, this country. I said the world because we do have international voters, for those that don't know, people in the military. Anyway, if you are serious about a strategy to change the outcome of 2026, it cannot be what you always do, meaning you spend all of your money on ads. Black people don't give a damn about your TV ads. They are not making people vote for y'all. Black people don't give a damn about all that mail you're gonna send us in the fall. Keep your mail money. Keep your mail money. Spend that money on trying to build relationship with my people right effing now. Your strategy does not work. And if it did, we wouldn't be where we are right now. We wouldn't be where we are right now. We wouldn't be where we are right now if Democratic political strategies worked. Get out your feelings and hear what I'm saying. You guys are failing the moment. You are failing the moment. Your status quo way of campaigning and being in power is not successful. It will not work. It will not work. What we need to do, what we have to do is simple. We have to fight like we give a fuck. I'm Mundell Robinson. I fight like I give a fuck because I do. Y'all be great.